Republican Congressman Tom Price from Georgia's 6th District, a virtual beacon of the truth. He's also the former chairman of the powerful Republican Study Committee. And as a disclaimer, Tom Price was my congressman in Georgia. I was so proud of him. Now my congressman is Randy Forbes. And before that, I had Newt Gingrich. So I've like the three intellectual pillars of the GOP represented me. They follow me wherever I go. Congressman, great to have you with us.
Thanks, John. Great to be with you again.
Congressman, let's go to the new, spending and tax plan, the budget, if you will, that President Obama released to Congress Wednesday. What do you make of it?
Well, over 9 weeks late from his legal deadline to submit a budget to Congress, but I guess better late than never. But you'd think if he was 65 days late, he could have gotten a budget that would have actually gotten to balance. But it never balances. Spends nearly $1 trillion more compared to where we are currently, which is in a bad position, and taxes over $1 trillion more. So more spending, more taxes, more borrowing, more debt. So it's not a prescription for a solution to the challenges that we face. There may be the beginning of common ground that he's actually put a budget forward, and the Senate has put a budget forward for the first time in 4 years. So if there's a bright spot anywhere, it's that we can now begin the conversation.
Where does the conversation extend to when this new plan presented by the president, it's almost mind-boggling to me because it includes what I can see as a 6.6% increase in spending.
Yeah.
Both the Senate plan and the president's plan, there's no end to the rising debt as far as the eye can see. How does that work?
Well, neither of them. Both, you're right. Both the president's plan, budget plan, and the Senate Democrats' budget plan never, ever, ever get to balance. Now, the reason that, and ours does, the House Republican budget gets to balance within a 10-year period of time. The reason that balance is important isn't just so that two numbers line up on a page. It's so that we can get this economy rolling again and get jobs being created. There's still people hurting out there in big, big ways, and we're not doing the kinds of things in Washington that need to be done to get the economy rolling again and get America back on track. And that's the concern that I have, is that this budget simply doesn't address the real problems and the real challenges that we have today. Either it's that the president doesn't recognize them as real challenges, or it's that he doesn't want to solve them. Neither of those are good positions to take, and that's the stance that we'll be taking to the American people, is that, as you say, there are adults in the room trying to solve these challenges and putting forward positive solutions to whether it's Medicare or Medicaid or Social Security or tax reform or pro-growth tax policy, all those things that need to be done to get the economy rolling again.
So, Congressman, walk us through what happens now.
Well, I think what we will do is see whether or not there's a beginning of common ground so that the Senate and the House can come together in a conference committee for the budget and see whether or not there's any way that we can reach some kind of agreement so that we decrease spending in Washington and decrease the size and scope and reach of the federal government. I don't know that that's possible, but at the same time, it's important that the American people see the contrasting visions. One vision that has us borrowing more, spending more, taxing more, going into more debt, not getting the economy back on track. The other vision that has us borrowing less, spending less, taxing less, making it so that we get on a path to balance and paying off our debt so that the economy can get rolling. At some point, the American people, your listeners and others across this great land, have to say, we want the folks who are going to actually solve the problems to be in charge of this situation, not the folks who aren't going to solve the problems.
Congressman, why don't we go over a second, go from taxes and spending, Obama's plan, to guns. Pat Toomey, conservative from Pennsylvania, Senator Joe Manchin, one of my favorite Democrats now. They've come up with a compromise for background checks. How do you stand on this?
Well, I haven't seen all of the language, but first let me say that all of us understand and appreciate that violence it needs to be decreased in this country, and that we need to, as a physician, I can tell you, we need to make the right diagnosis about the source of violence. The fact of the matter is, this administration has been the worst out of the last 5 or 6 administrations in enforcing current laws that are on the books as they relate to firearms. Current laws. And so it's hard for me to believe that an administration that refuses to enforce the current laws needs another law that they don't enforce. Secondly, of the last 5 or 6 major killings that occurred in this country, the individual responsible for those, each and every one of them were on psychotropic drugs, psychotropic medication. They had a documented, diagnosed mental illness. We in this country and state by state do a terrible job of treating the mentally ill in our country, and that is a disservice and irresponsible and reckless, not just for the individuals to be treated, but for society. We need to have an honest discussion in this country about the treatment of mental illness and get to the point where we are actually helping individuals with mental illness, not just stockpiling them somewhere and hoping that they take their medication.
Congressman Price, do you believe, as many Second Amendment enthusiasts do, that background checks is the precursor to universal gun registration?
Well, I think it certainly is that next step toward it. And again, this incrementalism of the left always that's their stock and trade, and they don't frankly care what happens as long as they move it in some minimal way in the direction that they want to move it, which is to decrease the availability of legal firearms for law-abiding citizens. That's unacceptable. Again, if I thought that this Toomey Manchin solution was a solution, then I might consider it. However, it doesn't address the situation at all. It would not have stopped the awful tragedy up in Sandy Hook, and it wouldn't have stopped any of the most recent catastrophes that we've had in this country as it relates to gun violence. What we need to do, again, is have that honest discussion and look ourselves as a nation in the mirror and say, we are not being responsible when it comes to the treatment of the mentally ill in this country, and we must. And that just doesn't mean throwing more money at it, which is what the president's budget does. He throws more money at a current program for the mentally ill in this country that doesn't work. That's not the solution.
Congressman, we've only got time for one more question. Right now this week, the National Republican Committee is out in L.A. having a meeting trying to figure out what to do. You've been on the policy forefront of trying to define conservatism in the GOP. What does the Republican Party have to do right now to redefine itself and get back to winning?
The Republican Party, what we need to do is to communicate to folks that we are the party of principle. We're the party of positive solutions. We're the party of fairness, real fairness for the American people, which is the greatest amount of opportunity for the greatest number of individuals, so the greatest number of individuals can succeed and realize their dreams. And we are the party of caring for this country. The principles and the things that made this country the greatest nation in the history of the world are what need to be championed, not larger government, more dependency on the federal government. So we need to be able to say those things in ways that sit well on the ear of the American public and appeal to their dreams and their aspirations and the positive nature of the American people at their core. Instead of what the other side does, which is simply to demagogue and make people more dependent on a larger and larger government.
I think you hit the nail on the head. You know, Congressman, we can't have you on without asking this question.
The Braves are going to win again tonight. So
Saxby Chambliss is retiring, and we've got to ask you, Congressman, when are you going to get your hat in the ring and say that you're going to be a candidate for the United States Senate from Georgia?
Well, you're kind, John. Thanks so much. I'm Vice Chair of Budget. We continue to work through these fiscal issues, getting the President's budget yesterday that doesn't solve the challenges that we face. We've got another number of weeks before we'll make a decision on that, but I appreciate your continued interest and support.
Okay, well...
Wow, that was a great pat answer. So when you do make that decision, we'll ask you this on the air as a closing comment. When you are ready to make that decision public, will you do it here on the John Frederick Show?
Well, you'll be on the list of folks that need to know. There's no doubt about it.
Just be sure we're on the top of the list,
Congressman. There you go.
Okay, right. We really appreciate your time. Congressman Tom Price, 6th District of Georgia, and former chairman of the Republican Study Committee.
You bet, John. Take care.
Thank you.